Welcome to School of Reflexology. This week we look at the physiology of the brain. So we're going to look at the different parts of the brain this evening. As you would remember that in the reflexes of the feet, that the big toe represent a major part of the brain. And then the other toes represent parts too of the brain. But in the big toe, there are some glands that we want to highlight. There is the pineal gland, which is found on the medial side of the big toe. That's 1/3 down from the toe. Then we have the pituitary gland, which is right here, a very small gland in the brain. It's a master gland. We'll look at the functions as we go into the lesson, which is also in the big toe, almost a few way down from the sinus glands. And then we have the hypothalamus gland, which is to the right of the big toe joint. And these are very important parts that we're going to be looking at. So when patients come to you with different medical conditions, then you will understand why you need to stimulate the big toe a lot for certain functions. So the pineal gland is a pine cone shaped gland found in a groove between the two lobes of the brain. It is only about the size of a grain of rice, and it is pinkish in color. The pineal gland produces a hormone called melatonin, whose main function is the regulation of wake and sleep cycle. So that means person who come and tell that they're having problems sleeping, you're going to learn to find this gland reflex point in the feet and stimulate that gland, and your patients will come back and tell you how great their sleep was. I've had doctors with that testimony. The pineal gland receives cues about the amount of light in the environment. And these cues trigger the pineal gland to produce melatonin. So the darker the night, the darker the room, then the brain gets the message it's time to sleep. That's why they advise you to turn off the lights, use lower lights in your room so you can get better sleep at night. The melatonin instructs the body to make adjustment in temperature, blood pressure, alertness, and other biological process to facilitate sleeping and waking. Can you imagine? A small gland has all that function. The melatonin secretion peaks at night and ebb during the day. And that's why most of us, we're not able to sleep in the day because the body just don't release that hormone. So for me, when I want to sleep in the day, I have curtains and blinds in the room. And when I want a good sleep, I draw those curtains and close those blinds. And I guarantee you, I'll get a good sleep. The hypothalamus reflex point, which is under the big toe, nearer to the lateral side. It's like a line, an imaginary line to the base of the big toe. The hypothalamus is a gland about the size of a grape, found in the central brain. It is part of both the neural system and the endocrine system. And so when I was preparing this lesson, I said, should I take them to the endocrine system or should I wait a bit and just focus on the glands in the brain, because they are automatically a part of the endocrine system. So yes, I'll give a little introduction to the endocrine system as well. So we see that it's part of the neurological, which is the new nervous system, and also the endocrine system. Its primary function is to maintain balance within the body's system. It does this by receiving nerve messages from the brain, then translating them into chemical messages, and relays those new chemical messages to the pituitary gland. So from the hypothalamus to the pituitary gland. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. The pituitary receives these messages and in turn sends other chemical message to the endocrine organs. And we'll learn those organs. Anything that is a gland is an endocrine organ. In this way, our bodies are able to respond to sensations we feel about our surroundings without over or under responding. So because the hypothalamus is able to manage the balance, we don't go into over information unless something is happening in the body where the message is not going too well. Like a thermostat, the hypothalamus uses a set point to regulate the body's system, including electrolyte and fluid balance. Yes, can you imagine a little gland in the brain help the body to control your electrolytes, which are like your potassium, your sodium, your chloride, and all these chemicals in the body. It helps with body temperature, blood pressure, and body weight. So sometimes persons with these issues, they're also having a hypothalamus dysfunction. It receives inputs from the body, then initiates compensatory changes if anything differentiates from the set point. Now we go to the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland is about the size of a pea. It is located in the center of the brain, behind the nose and the eyes. It is attached to the hypothalamus by a slender stalk through which it receives chemical messages. So I can encourage you to look at the animation of the pituitary gland or animation videos of the brain. I'll send you one or two, but I want you to go and research and read, because the more I had to research and read when I was doing my studies. I didn't just take what the lecturer said. I went and researched more. The pituitary is sometimes referred to as the master gland because it directs the main hormone producing glands in the body. The pituitary controls hormone functions such as temperature, thyroid activity, growth during childhood, urine production, testosterone production in males, and ovulation and estrogen production in females. So now you realize how important this gland is and why it is important to stimulate it during a reflex session. It does this by using hormones to send chemical messages to the other glands. Major disorders of the pineal, hypothalamus, or pituitary gland are usually diagnosed and treated in childhood. So it is always picked up very early. Dysfunction of the hypothalamus. Hypothalamic dysfunction, you know, based on the term, we don't say hypothalamus dysfunction, they say hypothalamic. Hypothalamic dysfunction is a problem with which part of the brain called the hypothalamus helps control the pituitary gland and regulates many body functions. The hypothalamus keeps the body internal function in balance and regulate appetite, weight, here we go, body temperature, childbirth, emotions, behavior, memory, growth, production of the breast milk, salt and water balance, that's the electrolytes again, sex drive, sleep, wake cycle, and body clock. So the hypothalamus is like our body clock. So picture patients coming to you with these issues. The hypothalamus gland is a very important reflex point to stimulate with people with these medical issues. Another important function of the hypothalamus, it controls the pituitary gland. Because the pituitary gland is a small gland at the base of the brain, it lies just below the hypothalamus. The pituitary in turn controls adrenal glands, which is on top of the kidneys, ovaries, which is in the reproductive area, testes, and thyroid gland, which is in the throat. And these are part of the endocrine system. There are many causes of hypothalamic dysfunction. The most common are surgery, traumatic brain injury, tumors, and radiation. All right, I'll skip that one, or let me read something from it. It says, nutrition problems such as eating disorders, anorexia, extreme weight loss can be affected because of the hypothalamus gland. Blood vessel problems, and there are some blood vessel problems that we see on the screen, and genetic disorders, infections and swellings due to certain immune system disease. So the hypothalamus, a little gland, have so much work to do. Every part of the body is very significant, and that's why reflex help us to understand that the referral areas in the feet help to report or connect to organs, glands, and parts of the body. All right, so I want to show you how the pituitary gland and the endocrine system connects. The pineal gland, the pituitary gland, the thyroid gland, the thymus gland, adrenal gland, the pancreas, the ovary, and the testes. These fall under the endocrine system, but because endocrine and neurological connects, these systems are now showing up again. Dysfunction of the pineal gland. Why am I showing dysfunction? Should, in case patients come to you with different situations, you will have an understanding what I should stimulate naturally. The dysfunction of the pineal gland produces less melatonin secretion, which may result in insomnia, sleeping issues, persons just not sleeping, abnormal thyroid function. So we see persons with this swollen throat, we call it goiter. A dysfunction in the pineal reflex can cause anxiety, intestinal hyperactivity, menopause, pressure, seasonal affected disorders, and abnormal adrenal function. So someone with a pineal gland issue, it's not necessarily the area in the body that they're having a problem, but it is rooted in the malfunction of a pineal gland. You see how important it is to just reflex people often and naturally. Persons are able to be helped. Just like that. Just like that. What are symptoms of a malfunctioning pituitary gland? Headaches, vision problems, unexplained weight gain, loss of libido, feeling dizzy, nauseous, pale complexion, muscle wasting, coarsening of facial features. So the pituitary gland, people will come and have these issues, and one gland hormone imbalance can throw off the pituitary gland. All right, I think this might be the last slide that I'm going to show on this presentation. Your brain have 5 senses, and because we're in the brain reflexes or the toe reflexes, we focus on the brain, the sinuses, the eyes, the ears. We need to introduce the senses in this course or in this module. So the sense of touch, the sense of smell, the sense of hearing, the sense of taste and vision, they all have their main function from the brain, and then it travels down to the peripheral parts of the body for those who need to feel at their feet. So the message runs all the way down. So that's why it is important to reflex and spend time with the toes, because you're literally walking on another brain, they would say. Smell. In the big toe, at the lateral side of the big toe, we find the reflex point for smelling. I have had patients who couldn't smell, and I had to stimulate the reflex point to send a message back to the brain to smell. I've had cases where patients complain of the back of their head hurt. This connects to the eyes. So it is important to stimulate the eye reflex so that the brain can get the message. There are patients who tell you when you're reflexing their feet, they literally feel the electrical shooting, not really a pain, but like an electrical current will shoot to that part of the body that you touch. So I touch the eye reflex, and it can tell you something, shoot to their eyes or shoot to their ovaries. It's a wonder, but it's real. And so these are parts of the body that we need to pay attention to. Don't rush it. You have time. You can replay the videos over and over again before you're ready to sit your final exam. You can do it over and over again before I'm able to watch you live doing your final exam practical. So all these things will happen. I'll watch you live. You will talk with me. You'll walk me through. And you will also, between now and the final exam, walk me through as you treat your husband or your children, so I can guide you along. I'll set up some sessions like that where I'll be able to walk with you through the sessions. All right, I think I have a extra for you. Because we're doing the brain reflex, the toe reflex, a few of the spinal cord reflex points are in the toes. So they are the C-spine, and we'll find them also in a part near the big toe, in the medial side of the toe. So we're able to go in and to count. I'll teach you how to count by your small move. C7, C6, C5, C4, C3, C2, C1. But look at the amazing wonder of the spine reflex. So I'm doing the upper body. The next session, we'll do the thoracic spine and all the organs that run from that in the chest area. Then I'll do the lumbar spine. And then I want you to understand the pelvic area. We go down, just as how I said, think of the imaginary horizontal lines running across the feet. You can also use this chart, and where the purple is, where the blue is, the green, the yellow. Picture the bottom of the feet and the nerve messages are running in there. C1, that C1 spine connects directly to the brain, inner and middle ear. C2, the auditory nerves and sinuses and eyes and tongue. So now you realize, even though you're reflexing the person's eyes, at the eye reflex, you now realize that there is a spine reflex that connects directly there as well. So you will realize there are grouping reflex points that helps to reach a particular area. And you learn the cue or the code as you continue to look at this chart. This chart was my go-to. I didn't have it in colored in my time, but I was able to use this chart and help to understand if a patient came, I would not only focus on their eyes, I would also focus on the C-spine because it focused on the eyes and the ears as well. We look at C4, the nose, the mouth, the lips, eustachian tubes. We look at the C5, the pharynx, the vocal cords. C6, the shoulders, the neck, the tonsils. C7, thyroid and elbows. So basically, where you have the medial side of your feet, from your heel all the way up, we are going to teach you how to count, make small steps and count your way up and stimulate the area, and you'll realize, wow, everything connects. Everything connects, and you're better able to treat your patient because you're going through each reflex point. So we'll stop at the C-spine because we are at the toe section. So I'm giving you all the connection to the toes. It's good to look at ear issues. It's good to look at eye issues. It's good to look at respiratory issues that affect the nasal area. Why I'm saying this? So when patients come to you with these issues far from hospital, you're able to help them because you'd have known that these are dysfunctions. I want you to pay attention. We're now in pathophysiology, the disease process. I want you to look and see what are some of the conditions that affect these parts of the body. So when the patient come and speak with you, you can speak their language. All right. So I want to say to you, read a lot, watch a lot of videos, and it will help you in your quest as you continue to study the reflexes of the brain. It will better help you to understand the different reflex points in the feet, and you will definitely feel so good that you're able to reach your patients. And it doesn't matter what condition they come with, you are able to really help them as they come and as they complain of the different things that they might have gone through. So reflexology work. You cannot be afraid to express it. You got to know that it works, and then you're able to work it. I think I'll show you some other charts that can help you as we share. So here is a system of that's the hypothalamus and the thalamus gland, right? So the thalamus is, this is the thalamus, but the hypothalamus is a lower part. Hypo, H-Y-P-O, mean lower, right? So we focus on these two parts in the brain. So we're seeing a side view of the brain, like it's cut in two, and we're seeing the side view because all of this is in the center of the brain. Okay, let me see if I see another one. The pineal gland. So this right there. Then the pituitary gland. These are the main glands that we are focusing on this evening. So you are stimulating, the message is going from the toes to the brain. Then we look at we heard about the thyroid gland. When we do the endocrine system, we will learn more, but the thyroid gland is in the base of the toe. So it's very important that you know this gland and the disorders that come with it. Then you have some parathyroid glands, two smaller glands on each side that we stimulate in the toes at the base of the toes. And I'll show you them. Look on your colorful foot chart and you'll see, spend the time and look at it, print it, blow it up, and get familiar with it. We see the thyroid gland. That's how it would look, like a bow tie, they say. And then persons too will end up with tonsil issues. Sometime at the base of the toe, when you're reflexing, you'll have persons complaining, and then you're better able to say, go get this part of your body checked out, all right? So here is a better view of all the glands from the brain down to the reproductive system. Pineal, pituitary, parathyroid glands, the adrenal gland, which rests on top of the kidney, the pancreas, which when we do the digestive system, we look a little bit more on the pancreas as well, and the adrenal gland, and the ovaries and the testes. Look at it. These are what causing many medical issues in the life of people. Hormone imbalance. Read about it. That's one of the major issues why so many persons are sick. Believe it or not, hormone issues have triggered their medical condition. All right. I hope you have been blessed. Endocrine system is made of glands that make up hormones. Hormones are the body's chemical messengers. They carry information and instructions from one set of cells to another. And so we can't lose if we understand the endocrine system. I know it's a lot, but you can make it if you take your time, if you read, if you research, if you practice, you will overcome. Thank you for joining us this evening.